Hello and welcome to Pride of South London Fan TV. Ali here, and I've just picked up my ticket for the Chelsea game, so absolutely excited for that. And of course, yesterday it was deadline day. There's a lot that's gone on this summer, including the breakup of Tommy and Mollie May, which was obviously devastating. But let's talk Palace and let's talk the transfer dealings. I'm going to start with the positives, and there were two early positives in Kamada and Riyad. Saw a bit of both of them in pre-season, and I think both are promising players. Riyad obviously has had the injury, but I watched him in the training session. He had a lot of pace, and I watched him in a pre-season game at Crawley and looked very, very promising. And I think it's a shame that he's injured. We've obviously brought in ABBA defenders now, but I think he's someone who is going to do very well for us in the red and blue. Kamada is an interesting one. He's a very clever player, and I was pleased for him against Norwich for his confidence to get the goal and the assist, because I think he's a very clever player who will do things that often, fans might not notice, maybe the assist before the assist. He's very much a player who links up the play, but I think there's going to be patience needed with him. It would be wrong to make direct comparisons with him and Elise, but I think he's someone who we're going to grow to love. Then it went quiet for a bit, didn't it? And everyone obviously starts to get worried. Where I would say the biggest positive is in this window is, firstly, for me, I feel like Glasner will come out of it feeling backed. He praised the board yesterday for keeping Mark Gahey, and that was a big one. The big positive is that we kept two out of the big three. We obviously lost Elise early on, and Steve Parish has done what Steve Parish does, and that's absolutely given it to the big six. Well, I don't think you even include Newcastle in the big six, do you? So many bids in the... You to me are everything, so many bids in the bin. Mark Gahey. He's absolutely played Newcastle. There's been a lot said about that one on social media, but listen, I think the most sensible Newcastle fans that I read comments from actually are criticising their sporting director, Mitchell, because he spent his whole summer trying to get a player who I don't think he was ever going to get. Obviously, they saw Anderson as the dispensable one. And I remember watching the open training session here at Sellers Park, and Raksaki wasn't allowed to participate in the whole match situation, and Gahey did. And I'm watching it thinking, so you're protecting a player who's going on loan, but not the player who's meant to be going for 60 million. And from that point, I never really believed he was going. And then obviously we sold Anderson, which I will come on to later. And I felt at that point, there's no way that we are going to sell Mark Gahey, and we haven't, and it's a massive positive for us to come out at the end of this window with Gahey and with Eze as well, still in the red and blue. And then obviously we've then gone on deadline day to make some really good additions. LaCroix and Shaloba. I mean, everyone was expecting LaCroix. We been talked about all summer, and that was big in terms of backing Glasner, because Kamada and LaCroix are obviously Glasner buys. Then you've got Sarr and Nketiah, who are obviously ones that Dougie has chased for a very, very long time. And you see that balance between the manager and the sporting director, that they're getting their input and that things are working. But look, in LaCroix, and now Shaloba from Chelsea, who I didn't expect that last one. That is the icing on the cake. We've now got a back three with pace, which is allegedly what Glasner wants. So let me know your thoughts. Have we upgraded the back three? The last one in Nketiah, I mean, I'm a bit of a sucker for a video on social media. Anyone who watched that video on social media will just left feeling that this guy is meant to play at SC25. I think what's interesting for me with Nketiah is that I think him and Ismaila Sarr, who we haven't mentioned yet, the Sarr man running down the right, his name's Ismaila Sarr. He left off because they're... I think Sarr and Nketiah are going to be very, very transitional, and I think they could be interesting playing together and dangerous. And it'd be interesting as well to see whether Nketiah can play alongside Mateta. I think Nketiah will need a good run of games, which is something I don't think we've given the outgoing Elton Edouard to build that confidence. But that's another positive as well. I think, whatever you think of the Anderson deal, which I'll come on to in a moment, business-wise, we've acted like a very sensible football club this window. Anderson going for 30 million as a 28-year-old. Business-wise, you have to have some understanding of that. And then Jordan Ayew and Edouard and Sam Johnston all sold. Well, Edouard's obviously gone on loan, but Ayew and Johnston sold for good fees. Again, good business sense. You know, Sam Johnston and Dean Henderson is obviously a debate who's better. Personally, for me, Dean Henderson shades it. He's capable of making those saves like Liverpool away, Man City away. I just think he's got something a bit extra than Sam Johnston, although you could argue Sam Johnston's a more consistent goalkeeper. It was swings and roundabouts. You know, they're basically both in the England number 3. So it's going to be interesting who does end up in the England squad this year, Sam Johnston or Henderson. But good business sense. So lots of positives in this window for me. Negatives. Obviously, we lost Michael Olise. That's no one's fault. You can't really fight off a team like Bayern Munich. But it's a reality. And whoever we brought in, you know, a lot of people disappointed we didn't bring in a young 10, Jerky from Lyon, etc. Listen, those deals are obviously difficult. They've got in different types of players. It is Ismaila Sarr and Kamada. Can Nketiah act as a 10 at times? As I said, I think it's going to be very transitional with Ismaila Sarr. But the reality is we've lost an unbelievable talent, as we saw at the Olympics and his first few games at Bayern Munich. Joachim Andersen is, for me, I was very much against it. I'm a big fan of Andersen. I felt there was some incorrect things said about him by some on social media. You know, he started to become error prone, because of a few errors in pre-season. No one cares about pre-season. They're games to build fitness at the end of the day. So I think his recent form, really, if you're going to assess Andersen's recent form, should be where he did well for Denmark at the Euros and the games where he played for Palace, because under Glasner at the end of last season, you know, I thought his performance away at Liverpool was actually one of his best performances in red and blue, defensively as well. But where I surrender on this issue is to Glasner himself, because, you know, a few Palace insiders allegedly have said that Glasner was okay with this decision, that he wanted more pace in the back line, and he's now got that. And listen, I never had more implicit faith in a manager than I have for Glasner. This is a guy with a pedigree of a Europa League win on his CV. So I think Andersen, that's going to play out. Where I'd heed caution is people directly comparing the likes of Lacroix to Joachim Andersen. Because Andersen's an established international and established Premier League player, and we're going to need to give Lacroix time to embed into a new league. Other negatives for me was we failed to get wing-back cover, and a big thing for me was backing Glasner and backing his system. And I do believe we have backed Glasner in this window, but it's probably a niche market, the wing-back market. You know, and obviously there are a few names mentioned that haven't come off. Even yesterday, trying to get Cornet, but I think he wanted first-team football, and is more likely to get that at Southampton. But for me, I didn't want to be in a situation at the end of the window where we're saying Schlupp might be used as the wing-back cover on the left-hand side, and that's where we're at. Although Glasner has improved Schlupp and his fitness since he's come in, but I don't think we've got sufficient cover on either side, the left or the right. I think Nathaniel Klein, for me, is great on the right-hand side of the back three, but as a right wing-back, I personally don't think he's mobile enough to get up and down for 90 minutes. On the left-hand side, we definitely don't have the cover for Mitchell, and I think we're in trouble if either Manosa or Mitchell get injured, to be honest. Could we cover it through the youngster Uma? Maybe, but they were rumours where they were looking to get him out on loan. I think that's where they'll be disappointed yesterday, is that they didn't get the wing back in. But look, it is hard, these transfer windows. I mean, I bet, to be honest, Glasner, Douglas Freeman, Parish, they're probably really glad it's over. It's been a bit crazy. It's been quite a stressful one. I feel like in previous years we worried about losing Saha. Now we more worry about several players like Eze, Gahey. It's been a bit of a stressful time, but we finished the window with two of the big three still at Palace. I think we've got some fresh, exciting talent in there, particularly in Nketiah, and Shaloba yesterday was a massive surprise and present. And I'm excited to get going now because, listen, it's a disappointing start, but Glasner's teams always start quite slow. And can we get something from Chelsea tomorrow? You know, none of these new signings can play, but the optimism has improved. It was a decent performance in the week against Norwich. Let's see what we can do. I'll be at Chelsea tomorrow, and you can expect some footage, a review from that game. Let me know your thoughts on the summer. What would you rate this window out of 10? I give it a 7. Let me know your thoughts on all the summer happenings. What's your thoughts on Tommy and Mollie May on that breakup? Let me know in the comments below. As always, if you've liked this video, press that subscribe button.